Welcome to the Yappy Hour, powered by Yappily, the podcast for dog lovers who want to better understand and connect with their four-legged friends. I'm your host, Nathan Dunleavy, and today we're talking about something incredibly important: how to support complex and sensitive dogs. My guest is Jay Gurden, a leading expert in dog behaviour, trust-based training and guardianship. Jay is the founder of Good Guardianship and the author of Building the Bond, Living in Harmony with Your Dog, a book that focuses on understanding and strengthening the human-dog relationship. In this episode, we'll explore what makes some dogs more sensitive, the challenges their guardians face, and how we can help them feel safer and more confident. If you've ever felt like your dog struggles more than others, this episode is full of great insight, reassurance, and practical advice. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's get started. Welcome back to the Yappy Hour, powered by Yappily. I'm your host, Nathan Dunleavy, and I'm so excited to bring you another episode of the Yappy Hour today. Today's guest is Jay Gurden. Have I said Garden?
You. I get that all the time.
And oh my God, I was meant to ask you that before we even started recording, and I didn't. And then I've just thought to myself, shit, I've not asked her if I'm going to pronounce her surname right. So Jay Gurden with a U. I'm so excited to have Jay with us. She's a colleague of mine as well. We hang out in some similar groups and admins and similar groups on the world of Facebook. And yeah, I'm so excited to have a chat to her this evening. Right, without further ado, Jay, welcome to the Yappy Hour. As I said, I'm so excited to chat with you today. How are you doing?
I think I'm really, really pleased to be here. Really excited that you asked me to come on.
Yay! We've got over the microphone thing because I did have a silver microphone and you sort of, took the mick a little bit, but I've managed.
I've got the silver one up there.
I know, loads of people. It was like innuendo bingo going on when I posted a picture of myself on this big silver microphone, but I've gone for the black version. I don't even know if that's even better or not, but hey. Great, so glad you're okay. So Jay, for those who might not be familiar with your work, can you tell us a little bit about Good Guardianship? What led you to focus on complex and sensitive dogs, please?
Yeah, I mean, the concept behind Good Guardianship, it's really about helping people and their dogs to just have the best and strongest relationship they possibly can.
Yeah.
I mean, those of us who have spent time learning about dogs, we have that fantastic relationship that we build with our dogs, and I just want to help as many people as possible to do that. That really is at the heart of what I do. With my little side shoot, obviously, of the complex dogs, which is a love. Well, I say it's a love. I don't think any of us who live with these dogs really love everything about it, but helping these dogs and their people is definitely a love.
Yeah, definitely. And we're trying to get away from the word reactive in inverted commas, aren't we? So we're using sort of words now because reactive is such a broad term, and I hate it because there's tons of reasons why a dog could be reactive. So, we're going with sort of complex, sensitive. I even heard spicy the other day.
Yeah, I love spicy. I love that. And Andy Hale uses the term socially sensitive, which I think just sums it up so brilliantly. I mean, I do use the word reactive sometimes, but it's purely because that's the word that people tend to know.
Exactly, yes.
So once they've sort of found me, then I can start to say, well, actually, that's not quite right. It's a label, and it's not quite what's going on here.
Yeah. So what led you to set up your business then? Because you've got colleagues and you've worked with colleagues. I know that. So how did you tell our listeners how it all sort of came together then?
Well, my relationship with dogs I grew up on a farm, and in my teen years started with working sheepdogs with border collies. The farm has now gone, but the border collies have remained. And for my sins, it was one particular one of these dogs who, he came to us as a puppy, like many dogs before, and things just didn't go quite the same way. There were things that he struggled with, and at that point I didn't know enough about those issues to be able to help him. So I was where a lot of people are now when they realise something's wrong with their dog. But I was fortunate that I had the luxury of being able to go, and basically I turned myself into like a full-time dog student. I spent like a couple of years where all I did was learn about dogs.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah, because you now tutor and you write books and all sorts now. So we can talk about that.
Stumbled on the Canine Reactive Behaviour course at Canine Principles. A friend of mine shared it.
Yes, that's right.
In a strange sort of circle, I now tutor that course, which that actually was a fantastic moment for me when I was asked to tutor that course, and it's like kind of full circle, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that.
And it's the tutoring also has kind of helped me to broaden out with trying to help people sort of on my own. I am a behaviour consultant, but I don't necessarily work in quite the same way as a lot. I'm a lot more about sort of the education and just it's just that understanding.
Yes. Yeah. And that's good. I think it's important. I'm really big on education and, helping people understand, because you don't know what you don't know. So if there's someone there that can help, with that, that's great. So we mentioned about your books. You're an author. You've written several books on building relationships with dogs. What inspired you to share your knowledge through writing?
Initially, the very first book that I wrote was one on reactive dogs. It's called the Reactive Dog Guardian's Handbook. Still triggers along and sells now sometimes. And
good.
I wrote that because, this was back before I started. I think I just started with the tutoring back then.
Yeah.
And I had a blog, and my writing was sort of tending along the lines of working with these sensitive dogs. But I wasn't so focused on working with them as a professional at that point. And what I found was there was a lot of advice on how to work with these dogs, with the counter conditioning, desensitization and so on. But there was almost nothing for the human end of the lead. This was just before Janet Binley's book came out, Your End of the Lead.
Yes. Yeah, I've got that one, yeah.
Hers and mine came out at a similar sort of time. Hers was much better. I've got a lot better writing since then. But before that, there really wasn't anything much for the people. So you have these poor people who things are going wrong with their dogs, and it's really hard to be that person on the end of that lead. And there just wasn't the support there for them. So I just wanted to write something just sort of to let people know you're not alone.
Yes.
And it's okay to have these feelings. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to grieve the life that you were expecting when you brought a dog into the family. But there are things that we can do to help.
Definitely, yeah. And you've recently released a new book, haven't you?
Last year.
It's in my Amazon basket. I'm nearly there to get. I've got all these, but I've seen yours behind me. I've now got a bookcase behind me, nowhere near as big as yours. Got all these books. I love supporting other, trainers and behaviourists and colleagues I work with. And yours is in my basket, saved, because I want to get your research, because I keep seeing people posting about it and reading it. And Andy mentioned it as well.
He wrote the foreword for it for me.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell us a little bit. So you've just released at the end of last year, Building Bonds.
Building the Bond, Living in Harmony with your dog.
Love that.
Yeah. It came out end of September, beginning of October. So really not very long ago.
Yeah.
And it's looking at kind of all of the aspects of our life with dogs and what we can do in each of those aspects to build this strong relationship. So it's looking at training. The focus of the book isn't on training, but obviously it is a big part of our life with dogs. So there's a section on that. There's play, there's sleep, there's canine emotions.
Okay.
There's so many different
aspects.
There's
lots.
There's a chapter on communication.
Yeah,
so it's kind
love
of
that.
I did question my sanity a few times writing it because it's such a big topic. It was really hard to organise how I was going to write it.
I bet, yeah.
Because everything else I've written before that has been focused on a single topic.
Okay, this is lots of different
things.
This
one that it's just okay. It's a simple topic. It's living with dogs, but it's just not that simple, is it? There's just so many aspects to it.
Yeah. So what was that? Number 4, number 5?
Number 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
number 6 on the way, or plans in the future?
6, 7, and 8 are in various stages.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
6, 7,
Number
8.
9 is also in the planning, but that's a long-term project. That's going to take me quite a while, that one, because that's a
Wow.
dictionary of dog terminology. So that is,
Okay.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
kind of breaking down dog training and behaviour jargon into slightly easier to
Yeah.
understand language. So that one is taking a while.
I think we might have to have a chat offline, because I believe you do like a writer's or an author's mentorship as well. Did you want to just tell our listeners about that?
Yeah, basically, for anybody who wants to be a dog writer, we do a monthly one-to-one session, sort of talk about your project, go through it. Yeah, if there are any questions while writing, I can be emailed or messaged. I'll proofread,
Yeah.
give
Oh,
tips on
okay.
planning, writing, basically anything
Yeah.
from first starting your idea through to self-publishing, because all of mine is self-published.
Right.
So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, anybody who wants
That's really
wants to do
interesting.
that, then yeah, I run a mentoring scheme for that.
Yeah, we can obviously give your details at the end of the episode for various, contact points for people wanting to get your books and obviously your mentoring scheme. The only reason I say about that is because a mutual colleague of ours said the other day, Sally Guttridge, said that I should write a book, and nowhere in a million years would I ever say that I was ever going to that I don't even think I could do it. There's no way I could write a book. And she's like, yes, you could. You can write a book. There's a book in you. You could write a book about dog walking or like business mentoring to do with dog walking.
I have to point out that Sally is responsible for my first one, because I made the mistake of saying to Sally one day, "Oh, I think I could write a book," and she said, "Do it." And then I said, "I'm not going to." She said, "Yes, you are."
Yeah, I knew she was responsible for you. So like, I thought she's sown the seed with me now, the little minx. And she said, oh, you could do it. And I was like, never in a million years do I ever want to write a book? But maybe one day there's something there that, that I could maybe do. But I've got quite an interesting life. I always feel like I should do like a bit of an autobiography or something. But not only Sally, but I interviewed Dr. Connor Brady recently, and he even said to me that I've got a book in me and I should write. So even if Connor Brady and Sally Guttridge are saying it, then maybe it'll have to go on the plan at some point, and I'll be hitting you up for help.
No,
perfect. No, that's it. I've committed. So moving on to our next section then, which is great. So it's all about what makes a dog complex in inverted commas or sensitive in inverted commas. So when we talk about complex or sensitive dogs, Jay, what does that actually mean?
It kind of ties back to that label of reactive, because the easiest way to describe these dogs is they tend to be the ones that overreact to things. It doesn't matter whether these things bother us, whether we think they're scary. The problem is that the dog is bothered by them. And depending on exactly what's going on, what's caused it, the reactions can be kind of different. I mean, the stereotypical thing that we tend to think of is the barking and lunging, the sort of big, loud, very big feelings coming out. But it starts much more subtly than that. And part of my passion is trying to help people to understand. I saw a great quote the other day of listening to your dog when they whisper rather than when they have to shout. And I love that.
Love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that.
It just sums it up, because when you can listen to those whispers, they don't need to shout.
Because they give us so many signs, don't they? And if people like what we go back to about education, if we understood and read the dog in front of us, learnt a bit more about canine body language, they give us so many like indications, and like they give us so many warnings or so many like ways of telling us before they get to the point where they're having to bark or lunge. And it could be so subtle, but if we just took time to understand that. Yeah,
and also the fact that it's slightly different for every dog.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, my lad Finn, I love him to bits. He is the most gorgeous blue Merle collie. He's a lot better now than he was. He used to be quite challenging. He's reactive to people, dogs.
Is this the one you had to introduce to your other dog? Because you've got two, ain't you? So when I first met you, you were there was like an introduction period or something. Is that right?
My other dog, she came along as a little puppy. And there was a lot of very, very careful management with playpens, and we actually fenced off a section of the garden so she could run up and down the fence one side and him the other.
Oh, wow.
She decided we didn't need that much earlier than we did, because she just sort of came around the fence, popped him on the nose, and off they went playing. But yet, because of the way he is, we decided that a puppy was going to be far easier for him to be introduced to, because there's obviously not a threat there.
It's like a blank canvas, isn't it, of a puppy, hopefully.
You've hit on one of my pet hates there. I hate that saying.
Oh dear, oh
Yes.
God. Rewind.
Well, no, because it actually leads on to a really good point of what actually causes these in the first place. And it goes right back to genetics. Genetics can play a part.
Yeah.
So, this happens like at conception. So
Okay.
you'd hope that the puppy is as blank a canvas as possible, but you always have to remember there's elements there that can be an issue.
Yeah, like you say, from genetics and hereditary traits and stuff, and the dog, what the dog's bred for and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good example, because he's like, if you take all of the things that we know can cause a dog to have issues, he's got all of them.
Okay.
Because his mum was nervous.
Right.
We didn't think anything of that at the time, because we've been around dogs that weren't that keen on people. No, she was nervous. Then when we got him home, he was unwell during his socialisation period, and we weren't able to take him out and about. And then when he got better and we started taking him back out into the world, he got attacked.
Oh God, yeah.
He was about 5 months old then when he was, a big mastiff bit him. And it went from there. It took time.
Yeah.
It took about 3 months for it really to come out. And that is something else that could make it complicated. There can be so much time between an event and the reaction starting to come out. So it can be really, really hard to make that connection. So now in hindsight, I know everything that wasn't ideal from the start, and the things that I didn't do quite right, and all the things that I did differently with Rogue, my young dog.
Yeah, but I love how I'm all about setting the dog up for success, and being your dog's superhero, and that's what you've done for Finn. You've advocated for him, and you've been his superhero, because you've put all this control and management in place, for him and for the new puppy, and that's really important, isn't it?
It does take a lot of management. I mean, they're absolutely fine now. She's nearly 2 now, so she's been with us for a while. We did actually have a time before, a couple of years before Ro came along, where we tried to introduce another puppy, and it just didn't work. And we actually the puppy had to go back to his breeder because Finn wasn't ready.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't ready at that point. He needed a bit more time to settle in himself. So a couple of years, Ro came along, and they get on well.
Yeah, but good for you for acknowledging that, though, and obviously saying that it wasn't the right time, so the puppy went back to the breeder. That's really amazing.
It was awful. Yeah. He was here for 4 days, and he was just the most gorgeous, confident little dog. And that was the problem. He was too an in-your-face with Finn, whereas Rogue, when I went to see her in her litter, there were 3 puppies, and one puppy came and bounced all over the fence. Come on, look at me, come and fuss me. Another one went and hid behind the kennel, and my first thought was, I'm not having you. I've got one complicated dog. I don't need another one right now. And then there was this little dog. She was the smallest puppy of the 3, and she just sat in the middle of the pen, and she looked me up and down. And then, you may fuss me. And that's just her attitude to life. She's a thinker. She thinks about things, so she's not full on and in your face, which is exactly what he needed.
Yeah.
She'll go in and try and instigate play. She sort of goes in with all the teeth waving around playfully and dabs him with a paw, and then he does it, and he's about 3 times the size of her. So.
How old is Finn now?
Finn is 8.
Right, okay, it's a bit of an age difference, isn't there? Yeah, he's getting into senior years.
He's 8, she's 2 in a couple of weeks. So we didn't.
But it kind of keeps him young a bit.
Yeah,
it probably keeps him young a bit, doesn't it?
Because he had the problems with other dogs. I mean, we did have another dog when we got him, but Red was 12 when Finn came along, and he really wasn't interested in all these puppy shenanigans. So Finn had kind of forgotten how to play.
Right.
With the dogs, playing with people was fine. He didn't know how to play with other dogs, and he's actually. I mean, it looks and sounds terrifying because there's growling and teeth all over the place, but that's just how they play. They love it.
Yes.
We just let ourselves be guided by her. If she keeps getting up and going back for more, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of management with one of these dogs.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And what I love as well, I meant to say earlier, is that everyone I seem to speak to, they all get into the profession or the industry because of their own sort of dog that they've, I don't want to say like have issues with, but like, well, it is because a lot of the time is because the dog's sort of, going through stuff, and then that's made the owner, the pet parent, sort of then learn more, and then they then decided to get into it as a career.
Yeah.
I've got my own SA dog who's got like chronic back pain, so then he's sort of resource guards and he's reactive, and he's bless him that he's got SA and stuff, and like, out of 7 I haven't done too bad. It's got one that's got his got his quirks, as I like to call it. Is a special boy.
I tend to think that these dogs have actually led us. They've needed us to learn something.
Yeah.
So we've got to learn that and to discover that other people need help with those things. So that's kind of how we go.
Well, that's why I specialised in SA in the end in lockdown, because my dog walking business had to close, and I then retrained as a dog trainer and literally did as many courses as I could, and I then specialised in SA. And then I thought, well, it helps me understand him more, but then I can help others. And there was like this big boom, wasn't there, with people going back to work and stuff. So I do love the SA work.
There was a boom with the learning too, because I was tutoring through lockdown, and it was
everyone's just
regular levels of assessments, and all of a sudden up it went because everyone had time.
Yeah, they did. Everyone was at home, or more time to learn. But that's good. I'm glad that people were learning stuff, because that's what we need. So our next question, we have touched on it a little bit, but these traits, is it something a dog is born with, or do they develop it over time?
Some and some. Obviously, genetics the dog is born with. To an extent,
Yeah.
also you have epigenetics that comes into play, which is where there are things that can affect gene expression, turn genes on and off. And if you have a mum who is stressed throughout her whole pregnancy, that can have an effect on the puppies before they're even born. But there are also areas that aren't set in stone. Obviously, the big thing is like puppy socialisation, so getting them used to the world. And also, a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what socialisation actually is.
Yep, I know.
So many people who think that it's going and meeting and interacting with everybody and every dog. And in actual fact, a lot of the time with puppies, letting them watch quietly from a distance and get used to things, it is a better way to start.
Yeah.
Then we also have the dogs who have bad experiences. So the ones who are attacked.
Trauma, it kind of sticks with them.
Then you end up with what we call like single event or one trial learning, where one bad experience, if it's severe enough, can stay with that dog for life.
It's a shame, isn't
it? There is also an aspect sometimes of, we know that dogs are social animals. They do social learning, so they can learn from others. So again, going back to my 2 as an example, because Finn has these issues of things that he's worried with, we made sure that although they both go out for a walk when it was early in the morning and there was nothing for Finn to worry about, in the daytimes when there would be people, dogs, cars, other animals about, that I would take Rogue out on her own, so she got to experience these things without worrying about her seeing Finn reacting and worrying what she should worry about. So that's kind of a slightly lesser element, but it is something just to keep in mind.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So how can pet parents recognise if they have a sensitive or complex dog?
It comes back to what we talked about earlier on with body language.
Yes, big, isn't
it? It's taking the time to learn the signs of stress, and importantly, learn what they look like in your dog. So learning what your dog looks like at home when they're relaxed and happy, what they look like when they're excited and playing, and starting to see the signs of when they're not comfortable with something. Because especially in the early stages, they will tell us a long time before it gets to the reacting stage.
Yeah.
If those signs don't work, they can start to not show those anymore because they've not got them again, going back to Andy Hale, he talks about the relief, the feeling of safety and relief from the stress. So these lower level signals haven't got the dog that relief. So something else that you see said a lot of the time is dogs do what works. And that especially works when it comes to stress. If a dog is in a situation they don't feel safe, and that's essentially what it is, this dog does not feel safe, They need
Yeah.
distance. They need to get away from that thing, and they will do what gets them that distance. So whether
Yes.
whether that is that their guardian will listen when they start to show these more subtle signs, or if all else fails, the lunging and barking, that's pretty much guaranteed, because we all then sort of get hold of them and drag them away.
And this is the thing, isn't it? It's those subtle signs, like we lip licking, yawning. People recognise like the vocalization with the barking and the lunging, but these subtle signs that you may miss, you may blink and miss. It's all those little things, isn't it? That's leading up to it.
Yeah, like with Finn, he will get very fixated. He gets very vigilant.
And
hypervigilance. Again, a lot of it depends on your dog. Finn is very, very food oriented. He is the most food oriented border collie I've ever met. He thinks he's a Labrador and a fat one.
I love it.
So he would eat 24 hours a day if he could. So for him not to be able to take food is a clear sign that he's stressed. But it actually starts earlier than that. If he's starting to worry about something but still isn't at a point where he has to overtly react, he will start to snatch treats. So I can actually use that as a guide to what his inner level is. If he starts to snatch the treats, then we need more distance.
Yeah.
But he's really, really different to a lot of sensitive dogs, because you often see the advice of, don't ask them to sit, whereas he will sit and watch something. That's just how he processes it. And this is where learning your own dog, their communication, their preferences, their needs, it really is central.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that obviously you've got to work with a dog in front, because every dog and breed's different, aren't they? So what your dog does is probably different to my toy poodle, or you've got to learn. I've always
had border collies. We had mother and daughter at one point, and you could not have got two different dogs. Mum was really intelligent, didn't really care about people. Daughter loved people, not two brain cells to rub together. Bless her. She was the sweetest little dog, but she had an original thought in her life, bless her. Great as a working dog for close-up work, because she just did whatever you asked her to.
Yeah.
But something that required her to think, she wasn't so hot on that. Bless her.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a mother and daughter, but they're quite similar, actually. It's interesting. And also talking about like this ladder of aggression and this escalation pyramid, that's some of the signs, like the lip licking, the blinking, and it can go up and up, and then it gets to like a growl. But we often hear about sort of over-arousal, don't we, and over-threshold. So that's when the dog can make a negative or positive choice, isn't it, if they've got to that point?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about arousal levels, everything that we're doing will affect arousal levels. It's basically
that bucket filling
level of interest. Yeah, stress bucket is a great way to describe it. I will often use spoon theory. So,
not heard of spoon theory. What's that one?
Oh no, you start the day and you have a certain number of spoons to last you through your day. Okay, and from a human's perspective, maybe getting up, having a shower, getting dressed, that uses 2 spoons. You have an argument with somebody in the street, that uses 3 spoons, and you get to the end of the day and you've run out of spoons. So that's you can't take any more, and that's when you go over threshold.
Yeah, you blow.
Yeah,
what humans do.
The other way I use to describe it, that I've written in my books, is to describe a supermarket shopping trip, where you have the one where you fly straight to the supermarket, into the car park, into the shop, round the shop. You're in the queue, someone cuts in front of you. And it's a bit annoying, but no big deal. Then you take it back and you walk out the front door and your car's got a flat tyre. Every traffic light on the way to the supermarket is red. You get to the car park, and the only space left is right over the far side of the car park, next to the idiot who can't park straight. Into the supermarket, and you've got one of those trolleys with the wonky wheel. So as you're going round, your neck hurts, your back hurts, you just want to get on, you want to get done. And then this person cuts you up in the queue, and they turn around and give you this big smug grin, and it's And anybody that looks on at that is just going to say that you went off out of nowhere. And it wasn't. It's all those little things building up
to it, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's exactly the same with dogs.
Like a volcano erupting.
Oh, you've seen the supermarket shopping then.
Oh my God, I hate supermarkets. I don't go. I make my husband go. So
I
I
order
can't
in.
stand it.
We get it
Well,
delivered.
we used to do that. But he got fed up with the bloody date, so he has to go now. But he does park as far away as he can because he's so precious about his bloody car. So he parks the furthest
Yeah, I
away.
do that.
Right. And the funniest, well, frustrating for him, funny thing for me, is that be all these other spaces, and then a car would have parked right next to him, and he loses his shit. But yeah, but the point of this is that the dogs can hit their threshold, and then they can sort of react and, you know, go over threshold and over aroused, and that's when they then sort of do the barking and lunging. It's important to identify the signs through your dog before they get to that.
And it's important to remember that things that have happened like the previous couple of days can still be
Exactly.
lingering.
It can build up. It takes about 48 hours for, well, 70, is it 72 hours? My mind's gone blank, for arousal levels to decrease.
Yeah, I think it's up to 72.
Again, dog dependent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you could be adding to this bucket, and there's still. That's why I like to say to people, like, if something's happened the next day, you just need to have a day off from walking and do some brain games, sniffy games, because you just need to give them a chance to decompress.
Yeah. Yeah, decompression is such an important part of the process. Because
Yeah,
if
definitely.
you start trying to work on their relationship with the things that bother them without that decompression, you're not giving either you or them a chance for success.
Well, they can't learn, can they, when they're in that heightened state of arousal and
No,
stress?
as soon as
from
they hit
that.
threshold, that's it, the ability to learn, just go. If you think about it, this is them in survival mode.
Yeah.
Because this thing bothers them so much, or you know, all of these things together have bothered them so much that they're literally in fight or flight.
Yes.
And it's just they're just trying to survive the situation. It doesn't matter that in actual fact it's a bin bag. It's fine. It's not going to eat them. It really, can you tell I used to ride horses? It really doesn't matter. Well, in actual fact, there was one occasion with Finn where I was walking him. It's 4:30 in the morning, and he just stopped one day and would not walk along the path. And we actually had to.
Sorry, 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
Blimey.
that's when I used to walk him, because it was the only time I could walk him without stress.
Yeah.
But the
The things we do for our dogs.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially when it's like November. That wasn't fun.
Ooh.
The only way he would go forward was he'd make a big semicircle, and I couldn't work out what on earth was going on. And when I stopped and looked back, someone had left their bin 6 feet away from its normal position. And because dogs are so context sensitive, they see so much more of their environment than we would notice. That to him was wrong. So therefore, wrong equals danger.
Yeah. Oh,
Of course, he's nowhere near so bad now. And if Rogue sees anything like that, she just barks at it.
Right. There's no. Is there still 4:30 get-ups, or have you managed to get a few lions now?
My husband will do early walks, but just because that suits him.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is,
and
easier.
He works nights as well, doesn't he? So
yeah, or like early starts. So it suits him to walk early.
It's nice. You don't have to bump into anyone. I think I prefer it as well. Just
the other thing we do is we go to places where there's just like masses and masses of space. So we're quite lucky that it takes us a couple of hours to get there, but we can actually go to Salisbury Plain. And you have to occasionally dodge tanks and soldiers.
I know.
Which can be interesting when they emerge out of the grass in front of you. But it's just somewhere with lots of space and really good eye lines, so you can see anybody and go in a different direction if you need to. Although he's a lot better now. We can sort of pass somebody like the other side of the road without too much hassle. He might have a bit of a snort at them, but
snort.
He does. He huffs and puffs and
So, oh God, I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something then. Right, okay, let's move on to our next question in this section then. So, how can pet parents recognise if they have a sensitive or complex dog?
Again, we're going back to that body language.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Being a dog detective. Yes, body language.
Yes, Sarah Fisher came up with that, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
I think so.
Her ACE-free work for sensitive dogs is just amazing. It's absolutely fantastic and fits in really well in the decompression stage. But that's largely what it comes down to. When you've spent time studying your dog and learning about sort of the language, you can see like really little subtle signs, like their whiskers flaring, which is like an early stage sign that
I've never even thought of that before.
Yeah.
My God,
Yeah.
that's so interesting.
My young girl, she's got sort of very luxurious whiskers. They're also very bright white, and you can really see, because the base of them's dark, so you can really kind of see when she's got them flared forward. Yeah.
Oh. You often hear about cats having like quite prominent whiskers, but I've never thought about my dog's whiskers. I'm going to be
No,
looking at them now.
if you think, we know that one of the early signs of stress is like tension in the lips. And then if you also
Yes,
think of the
yeah.
function of whiskers, it's just, it's like a sensory thing.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense that they have them kind of out and ready.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a sign that I'll use quite often with my guys. The vigilance thing is a really good thing to look for. If they seem to be looking for something, listening, staring in a direction.
Records can go up, can't they? Like piloerection.
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, which with Rogue is hilarious because you can only get them on her shoulders and her bum. That's it. That's all. She just has these
little tufts. Yeah, so it's all about, like, I'm really big on sort of pet parents and people working with dogs, just understanding like canine body language, really.
One of the areas I tell people to look at most, because it's one of the easiest bits to see, is the tail. So if you know where your dog naturally carries their tail, so like with my border collies, they sort of tend to be down like that. When they start to come up, it's when the interest levels, the arousal levels are starting to go up. And with Finn, if it goes above level with his back, it's time to start keeping an eye out.
Yeah, I was chatting to my friends that week, and they have a rescue from Romania, and they said that they have tail literally tucks so far under as far as it can go.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting sign.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's really important to understand your individual dog, because obviously, like, say something like a Whippet or a Greyhound, where they tend to carry their tails very low. In other breeds, that could be a sign of extreme fear. Whereas for a Greyhound or Whippet, it's their natural position, but for them, it would come almost up and up, touch the tummy underneath. So it's really, really important to understand your breed or type of dog and your individual dog. And obviously, it gets complicated when you have like the dogs who've got no tails, whether they're natural.
I was literally thinking that as we were talking tails, like dog tails. It's hard, isn't it?
You can kind of look at the muscles at the base of the tail. Similar with ears. So obviously, ear movements are much easier to see in dogs who've got pricked ears. But if you've got dogs that have long ears, if you look at the base of the ear, you can, with practice, see how the muscles are moving to see if they've gone forward or back, because those muscles will kind of move in the similar sort of way. But it's just not quite so easy to see.
My Chihuahua ears are very different to my poodle ears. Yeah. Chihuahuas like listen, they go round, and then the poodles obviously all long and. Brilliant. Moving on to our next section, which is all about challenges and misconceptions about our sensitive and complex dogs. Many owners of sensitive or complex dogs feel like they're failing or not doing enough. What would you say to them in that case?
Absolutely not. It's really hard to be the person for one of these dogs. To stand there on the end of the lead and have there's this expectation in society of dogs behaving a certain way. Dogs should be able to go everywhere, do anything, with no trouble at all. In my life with dogs, I've had one dog like that. One dog who could take anywhere. I call him my unicorn dog, and I will probably never have another, because those sorts of dogs are actually really incredibly rare. Because society's understanding of what a dog should be is not actually the reality of the dog.
I know, it's frustrating as well. Do you think since lockdown we are seeing more, like, are we seeing it more, like dogs with sort of, I don't want to say issues, but dogs with sensitivities, dogs that are... dogs who struggle. That's the word. I couldn't get my words out. Are we seeing that more since lockdown, do you think?
I think so. I mean, obviously there was that huge boom in people getting dogs in lockdown. And especially puppies who joined their families in lockdown, they missed out on a lot of that socialisation.
Yeah, that key socialisation period.
I mean, those first weeks up to sort of about 12, 13 weeks old are so important. And a lot of puppies, even if they were being able to go out for walks, they weren't seeing as much as they would normally. So that does mean some dogs will come through that and be relatively unscathed. Other dogs will struggle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think possibly also in that time a lot more first dog parents.
Yeah, there was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, well, which they maybe would have wanted a dog for a while, but felt like they couldn't because of responsibilities. Well, we've got all this time that we're going to be at home, we're going to be working from home, so
Yeah.
let's have a dog.
And then they didn't realise when they were starting to return back to the office how that dog was going to cope.
Yeah, because I'm sure you probably see that as well in your essay
Yeah.
guide. Yeah, the two sort of really tie together with that.
Well, Mark, my husband, really blames himself or us because he was furloughed for so long in lockdown. He says that's why Bailey got SA, but it's obviously genetics as well. But he's the only one out of the 4 toys that have got it, luckily. But
sometimes it's just hard to pinpoint. I'm kind of quite fortunate with Finn in that I can pinpoint the different bits that went into it. Which one of them had the most impact? No way of knowing. And that is often the case. I think also I have a bone to pick with Disney because they just
okay. Bloody Disney, they got a lot to answer for. They have
it's just kind of all of these sort of cartoons and programs and fictional things that make having a dog seem so easy. Having a dog's no problem, anyone can do it. It's easy to have a dog, and it's not. It really isn't. to sort of be a responsible dog guardian, there's a lot to think about. And and that's just with a dog who doesn't struggle with aspects of life. Obviously, there are a lot of people that don't do that because we all know the He's Friendly brigade.
Oh God.
Yeah, we won't go down that route.
If I was gonna say, if I had a pound every time I'd heard that, I'd be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not connected to sensitive dogs, but my sort of funny anecdote with that was I was out at one point with my previous dog, my unicorn dog. Had him out. He was on lead because we were walking through this sort of busy bit of bridle path before we got to the fields. And this black Labrador turned up, running loose, no sign of her person.
As you do.
And she was getting very excited and sort of jumping around Red, and he wasn't taking any notice because his thing was, oh, hello, okay, I'm going to go sniff over here now. And it was a good 10 minutes before this person turned up, and there you are.
Really?
Aren't you a funny girl? And by this point, this Labrador was trying to almost reverse under my dog.
Oh no. Gosh.
Yeah. Oh, she was racially in season. So I said to this woman, probably ought to tell you that my dog is in fact entire. And she then kicked off at me about how irresponsible I was to be out with an uncastrated dog. He was on the lead. She had let her absolutely ragingly standing in season bitch out of her sight for 10 minutes, but I was the irresponsible one.
God knows what could have happened in that 10 minutes. They can tie and it can be over in 10 minutes.
Fortunately, Ray had absolutely no idea what it was for. He was absolutely not a clue.
Some people, honestly.
Yeah. So that's like my extreme anecdote of the sort of the He's Friendly people.
Yeah, the Friendly Brigade. So what would you say are some of the common mistakes pet parents make when trying to help, in inverted commas, their sensitive or complex dog?
I think one of the most common ones is probably thinking that making them face up to their fears is going to help. Because if you think about it, as when you've got humans with phobias, because to be honest, it's no different to humans with phobias.
Yeah.
But often humans with phobias, like say you've got someone who's scared of spiders, they'll go to one of those things where they hold a spider. Exposure therapy, they call it. It's basically flooding.
Yes.
So,
flooding, yes.
So flooding is where...
Not good.
No. It's where the situation is just so overwhelming for the dog. They literally just become flooded with stress and they shut down. But that can work for humans because we can rationalise it. We can have someone there talking us through it. And we can have that sort of slightly more advanced bit of our brain going, no, it's fine. This little thing isn't going to hurt you. Yeah. Dogs don't have that part of the front area of their brain where rational thinking takes place.
Right.
So they can't actually reason their way through the situation.
Oh, God.
When you try and get them to face up to their fears, all you're doing is the flooding. And that will actually make it worse. So you're doing things for the very best of reasons.
But
yeah, I've so often talked to people who've tried that, and they sort of come to me and say, "Oh, I feel so bad." So I say to them, "You were doing the best you could with what you knew at the time," and that's something I say to people so often.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know. I think I heard something like before, like you can be scared of spiders and love chocolate, but if they sat you in a room with loads of spiders and fed you chocolate, it's not going to make you overcome your fear of the spiders.
I think it would probably put you off chocolate, wouldn't it? If that leads me on nicely to another mistake. Obviously, one of the techniques that we'll often use to try and work with these dogs is counter conditioning, where you use something really, really nice, often high value treats. So when I say high value, I'm talking like bits of hot dog, bits of ham, cheese, steak, anything that the dog really, really loves.
The good stuff.
When they are around their trigger, you use that, you feed them this high value treat, or you have their favourite game that they only play when the trigger is around. But timing of that is really, really important, because you've got to make sure that they see the scary thing from a distance where they feel safe, and then the food comes along. Because otherwise what happens is you're feeding them, they see the scary thing, and that nice steak becomes a predictor of the scary thing coming along.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, so you end up, we call it poisoning.
That's it. Yeah. Poisoning.
Yeah. So actually it becomes a predictor of the bad thing, rather than doing what you're intending to do, and actually giving them a pleasant association with the thing that they're scared of.
Yeah, so about the timing then, like you say, as well. How can we reframe the idea of fixing, in inverted commas, behaviours to better support these dogs?
I think a lot of it comes down to, for so many years, it was denied that animals have emotions. And in actual, Charles Darwin was talking about emotions in animals. So you're going back to like the 1870s. I've got a book on the shelf back there, which is the expression of emotions in animals and man. So he was actually, sort of back then looking at emotions in animals. But we've got a lot more research now, especially the work of the Dog Project and Gregory Burns, where they've actually managed to train dogs to stay still in MRI machines to have scans run while they're awake. All done with positive reinforcement training, which is such a great advert for using positive reinforcement. But they've actually been able to do scans on these dogs' brains when they're awake and record the areas of their brain that activate with certain things. So they actually used some things that you would think would promote sort of like emotions, so say scent of their family. And they actually found that the same areas activating the dog's brains as activating the human brains. So, we have concrete evidence that dogs have emotions. They don't necessarily have all of the emotions that we do, but, sort of happy, sad, scared, angry, they can have all of those. And I think understanding that can help us go a long way to seeing that what these dogs actually need is us to support them and understand. Behaviour doesn't happen in a vacuum. Behaviour is communication. So when the dog is barking, lunging, they're telling you that there is something in that situation they can't cope with. So, I have a graphic of it's a tree, and at the top in the leaves you have behaviour, the trunk of the tree is emotion, and the roots of the tree is need. So when you can start looking at what your dog needs in that situation, you can understand the emotions they're feeling and why the behaviour is happening. And then you can also see what they need to no longer feel they need to show that behaviour. So often with one of these sensitive dogs, it'll be distance. So I have issues with the idea of fixing the dog anyway.
I know, I hate that term.
But it's just what you hear. Them. We're just looking to help them be more comfortable in their world.
We're looking to understand them, and help them, like you say. Brilliant. Let's move on then. So our next section is building trust and confidence with a sensitive dog. What are some of the first steps that pet parents can take to build trust with their sensitive dog?
I think a great time to start really working on your relationship is during that decompression phase. So, yeah, I would say to people that if the daily dog walk is stressing you and your dog out, don't do it. Take a break,
Yeah.
have a few days off. And what you can do is, because obviously, you've got to find ways for physical and mental stimulation for your dog during that time. So you can start working on your relationship. You can do things like trick training, anything that involves you interacting together, find games you can play together, think down to things like hide and seek.
Yeah.
Just sort of have fun and enjoy each other's
Just have
company.
fun. Yeah.
And you can also sort of work on like useful cues for when you go back out into the world. So my two useful ones that I rely on a lot are let's go. So that's like, we're walking and we pick up the pace now. Or
Yeah.
this way, which is the 180-degree
I like
turn and the
that.
hightail it
Yeah.
out of danger. And also during that time, because you're going to be spending so much more time at home with your dog and they're going to be more relaxed, so you can really take that time to see how they look, what they do, how all the different areas of their body look when they're relaxed and happy. And because the sooner or the more detail you can see of them being relaxed, the earlier you'll be able to see when they're starting to struggle with something.
That's it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that time is really, really valuable.
Yeah. I used to say when I was doing a lot of in-person training, like particularly puppy training, I was like, have fun with it, because the moment it doesn't become fun, then you're lost. So,
Yeah, I mean, with the trick training,
just have fun.
My dogs have learned to do all sorts of daft things. Like, I'll hold my hand up and they have to work out a way to use the furniture to get to touch their nose to my hand. It doesn't have to have a purpose. You could just have fun with it. One
Yeah.
guys, they
Yeah, I love
spin.
that.
They just do all these things that there's absolutely no purpose for them whatsoever, but they enjoy learning it, and I enjoy
Yeah.
working with them. So we just enjoy it.
It just helps you build that bond and relationship, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah.
How does giving dogs more choice and agency over their environment help them feel safer?
A lot of it comes down to the communication between dog and person. So if the dog knows that they are going to be able to communicate whether they want to do something or not, and their person will listen to them, they have more trust in their person, because
Yeah.
they can feel understood, they can feel listened to. They know that if they really struggle with something, they're not happy with something, they will be listened to. But equally, if they want to do something, then they know that their person will support them to do that.
Yeah.
It's also really, really great for resilience. And resilience is something that is so important in these dogs. It's all about being able to recover from these smaller stressors. The more you can build their resilience and kind of like the elasticity of their
Yeah,
reactions.
not heard that word much, but that's good. Yeah.
I think that's one that I learned from Sally, and the way that the imagery she had is, if you imagine like a boat.
Yeah.
Floating on the water, and the amount of water underneath the boat is the amount of resilience you have. So if the water keeps going out, eventually your boat's going to ground out. But if you've got plenty of water underneath the boat, that's sort of loads of room for you to be able to sort of go up and down and be able to recover. Sort of without any damage to the boat or your brain.
Yeah. Brilliant. All right. Are you able to share an example of a dog you've worked with, or maybe your own dog who's made progress by using a trust-based approach?
Yeah, I generally use Finn, because he has come so far.
He has.
He has.
It's amazing.
He has got to the point where he will still be stressed, but his first goal now, when he sees something that bothers him, is he just wants to walk past it as quickly as possible. Yeah,
Is it like avoidance almost? Like,
but he
get me out of here.
He trusts that if there's a serious issue, we will take.
You've got his back.
From it. And what we'll often do with him is, if he sees something that bothers him, like if you're out on a walk and there's like some farm machinery in a hedge or something right next to the path, and it kind of spooks him, if it's safe to do so, we'll go over to it with him and just go, come on, have a look. And so he kind of he now has this attitude of, if we say it's okay, then It must be okay.
Ok-
And
Okay.
okay, he doesn't like the thing, but let's just get past it and then we can carry on and enjoy our walk.
Mm,
So it
good.
makes managing the situation much easier because the gap
Yeah.
that you need is so much smaller now.
Yeah, he's come on leaps and bounds. You've done so much work with
He
him.
has. He is my superstar boy.
Brilliant. Okay, so moving on to our next section, which is about practical strategies for everyday life. What are ways that pet parents can help their dog feel safe in a busy or unpredictable environment?
I'm a big fan of advocating for your dog. I have been known
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
quite noisy. For
that'd be
instance,
me.
yeah. I have a good line in battling. Can you call your dog back, please? I came walking Finn one day in the woods local to here. There was a dog walker who must have had 5 or 6 dogs, and I could hear them crashing around. We couldn't see them. I could hear them to hear that they were quite close. And Finn was just starting to get a bit, he sort of, his head was going all different directions trying to work out where they were. So I just sort of stood there and yelled at the top of my lungs, "Can you call your dogs, please?" Round here, luckily, most of them are okay. We do have 1 or 2 that their dogs have no recall whatsoever. I
Yeah.
had one with my youngster a little while ago where she just stood it in the next gateway over, just calling the dog's name over and over and over again, and the dog was just completely not listening. So I did my
Yeah.
emergency thing, which is always quite handy. Big handful of treats, lob them to the side, and then escape while they're looking for the treats.
Yeah.
That's my
Some
sort of,
find it.
that's one of my emergency escape strategies, because
Yeah.
obviously I've always got
So
these treats on me.
yeah, so you can do a bit of scatter feeding, a bit of find it and stuff. Get that nose on the floor. I used to saying,
Yeah, I mean,
focused on the floor.
you can use treats either for your own dog, just if there has been something that's upset them a bit, just a bit of scattering, a bit of sniffing, just sort of like to reset their nervous system a bit, because obviously sniffing is calming. Or like I said, you
Yeah.
can use them to distract another dog who's coming towards you.
Get them out the way.
Yeah. Or yes, yell.
Uh,
You do find that the more time you spend as the person of one of these dogs, you get really, really good at environmental assessment.
yeah, you're kind of always on alert, aren't you?
Yeah, I've actually found out walking my younger dog, who is, you just slap a lead on her and away you go. She's really, really easy, and I just can't switch it off.
Yeah.
I know what's
You're
going
like
on in every direction, and just sort of nearly all the time.
autopilot because you're wired into it.
Yeah, it's just this is my life now.
Advocate, so I love that. Advocate for your dog. So if your dog was to have a bad day or a setback, how should the pet parent handle it?
Take a day off.
Day off, yeah, love that.
Just
That's what we said earlier.
sit at home, have something nice, both of you. Just
Yeah,
relax.
get the chocolate out.
Yeah. Get the chocolate.
If you've not been put off by it.
Cheddar, please. He's quite partial to a bit cheese, but yeah, just don't be afraid to have a day or two, and just really
just
calm, chill out, and just enjoy each other's company. But there
Yeah.
is no need to force yourself out there every day if it's not working for you.
Yeah, I've said this before, like as humans we're conditioned to I must walk my dog every day, twice a day for 30 minutes or an hour a day, whereas some days, some dogs just need a day off. Give them, like Nicky French, don't walk your dog day, give them a day off.
Yeah.
Do some enrichment, sniffing, brain games.
Finn at times, he's a border collie. He's a farm bred border collie, so he's sort of one of those ones that people would say needs like 3 hours of running every day. 2 walks a week and he'd probably manage.
Yeah, it's again just working with the dog that's in front of you and then setting them up for success.
So many things that you can do at home, like brain work and playing games and say the trick training to replace that mental and physical stimulation, but without the stress involved.
Yeah, brilliant. I think we've sort of touched on our next question anyway, so we might be able to answer this some quickly, just about how the role of enrichment play helps our sensitive dogs feel more fulfilled and balanced.
Yeah, I mean, enrichment is all about physical and mental stimulation, and for these dogs, it's that mental stimulation that is absolutely key. Doing lots of things, sniffing, licking, chewing, all of those are known to have a calming effect. So in those days after a bad experience, lots of those are a really good idea.
Yeah.
Things sort of to work their brains, like food puzzles. Doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. It could be a cardboard box. One of Finn's favourite is a cardboard box, about 20 loo roll tubes. And just lob some kibble in there, and he's quite happy there pulling the tubes out. And the great thing is they can wreck the cardboard afterwards.
Exactly. It doesn't have to cost any money. I mean, like 20 minutes of sniffing or nose work can be the same as a 60-minute outdoor walk in terms of the brain and mental stimulation they get.
I actually once found, I took Finn for a sniffy walk along a bit of footpath. So there were people and dogs that had passed along there. Obviously not when we were there. But in the 20 minutes I was there, I think we moved about 15 metres. That was the grand extent of our walk, because his nose was just on the ground the whole time. We got back in the car, because it's literally, I'd taken somebody for an appointment, so dropped them off and just taken him for a quick walk while waiting for them to be finished. So we went, picked that person back up, went home, and he was literally upside down on the sofa for 2 hours, snoring.
It's tiring, isn't it? It's what people don't realise. Tiring. It's good for them.
Yeah, but if you think, again, I mean, the smell is the primary way that they analyse their world. So exactly. You know, and they have this massive part of their brain that is geared specifically for analysing scent. So you really are working their brains. And we all know, if you, like, say you've been in an exam or something where you've had to sit and concentrate for a period of time, it is tiring. And it's no different for them than it is for us.
Yeah. Brilliant. Wow, literally this episode's been jam-packed. We've sailed through this hour. My God, there's so many nuggets of useful information. It's been brilliant. So we're going to spend the next 5 minutes just sort of wrapping up with some final questions. So thank you. Jay, if you could give dog guardians, pet parents, one key message about supporting their sensitive or complex dog, what would it be?
Listen to your dog.
Love it.
It's all about that, learning to there's a great quote, I think, I can't remember the guy's name, somebody Pamuk, I think, or Han Pamuk. Dogs do speak, but only to those who can listen.
Yes, I've heard that one,
So that time spent learning about the communication, and specifically about how your dog communicates, how they feel, and what is normal for your dog. There is no such thing as a normal dog. It's all about what is normal for your dog.
I mean, what's normal nowadays? Normal's boring.
I'm not normal, so why would I expect a dog to be?
I'm definitely not normal.
So that is, if I can send people away with one nugget of information, that would be it. Listen to your dog.
Brilliant. I mean, there's been loads of nuggets, but I absolutely love that one. Listen to your dog. We're going to have to coin that one for you. For someone that's feeling overwhelmed, what would be the first step they can take to help their dog?
Take that break, that decompression. It's not just about decompression for the dog, because we know that being the person for one of these dogs is hard. It's stressful for the human as well. And if you think about your typical dog walk, the first few minutes or end of a walk, your dog's on the lead. So if you're stressed and you've got a death grip on the lead, your dog's going to be able to feel that tension. And when you've got a dog who is a little bit sensitive anyway, they're going to be what do I need to worry about, and looking.
Yeah, because they pick up on that, don't they?
In that decompression, it really is beneficial for both dog and person to relax, and then you can go and start working on feeling better in the world around you together from that point where you've set yourself up for success, because you have reduced all that stress.
Brilliant. Jay, where can our listeners find out more about your work, your books and your resources, please?
Well, my website is www.goodguardianship.com. I'm quite active on Facebook. I have a Facebook page which is just under Good Guardianship. The books are all available on Amazon. Most of them in ebook, paperback. There's a couple that are in hardcover, and 3 of them are in audiobook.
Oh wow. Brilliant.
Ebooks can be got from a whole range of stores. The paperbacks and hardbacks can either from Amazon or can be ordered through other bookstores. Audiobooks are via Amazon, Audible or Apple Books.
Yeah. And how can people find out more about your writing, mentorship and your memberships? Is that all just online?
Yeah, that's the details for all that are on Facebook. But if anybody who's not on Facebook wants any details about it, if they just drop me an email on jay@goodguardianship.com, then I can get back to them.
Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Jay@goodguardianship.com. Brilliant. Jay Gurden. Got it right, didn't I?
You did that time, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Yappy Hour powered by Yappily. I've absolutely loved this episode, and I know our listeners will too. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll get you on again soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. You're most welcome. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
What a brilliant conversation with Jay Gurden. Here are some key takeaways from today's episode. Number 1. Sensitive and complex dogs process the world differently. This isn't about being difficult, it's about how they experience and respond to their environment. Number 2. Trust and safety are the foundation for progress. A dog who feels safe is more likely to learn, grow, and build confidence. Number 3. Fixing isn't the goal. Understanding is. When we stop focusing on fixing behaviours and start meeting the needs of our dogs, everything changes. Number 4. Every dog's journey is unique. Comparison is unhelpful. What matters is what works for your individual dog. Jay, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and passion with us today. And to all our listeners, if you want to learn more, check out Good Guardianship and Jay's book, Building the Bond, for expert insights on supporting your dog. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, share it with a fellow dog parent, and subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Yappy Hour. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.